Hey everybody, this is Midnight Update. I'm Seamus Byrne. Welcome to Wednesday, the 18th of March. Tonight I'm going to go a little bit highbrow on you. My background before I got into journalism was in media theory, and so I thought I'd point out a few cool books that influence where I'm at in terms of what I really care about with what's going on in the media in a much broader kind of capacity, but that still leads in quite heavily to why I became a technology journalist. So I've picked out some books from my collection that I think aren't just all sort of highbrow and highfalutin super theory stuff, but stuff that's really accessible while at the same time gets people really excited about what's going on in terms of communication technologies and the media, and why it's so exciting to live in the era we live in. So let's take a look. First book I thought I'd mention is Faster by James Gleick. He's really well known for having written a book called Chaos, all about chaos theory, back at the end of the 80s. This is all about how technology is changing the way time works in quite fundamental ways. So it's partly about how everything has been allowed to get faster through the assistance of technology, but also how our fundamental concept of time has been changed because of technology. So it's very much a popular science kind of a book, and it just really looks at everything from elevator technology through to the way the time servers work around the world. This was the first place that I started learning about things like leap seconds. And yeah, it's just a really fascinating look at time in so many different ways. But all coming back to how there's this dilemma between how technology has made things go faster, but while at the same time not actually giving us personally any extra time to have for ourselves. So that's one of those classic concepts in technology, and this is a really great book for starting to get your head around the difficulties and the positives that come out of the fact that everything has started moving so much faster in society. Douglas Rushkoff, Children of Chaos. It also goes by another name. I think it was Shifted Publishers or something like that. But you smart people, look up Douglas Rushkoff, Children of Chaos. I'm sure you'll find the right book. This is all about trying to help digital immigrants, in a sense, better understand how digital culture is actually a positive force for the future of society. So this is covering everything from video games, graffiti, skateboarding, all kinds of different ideas in popular culture, but how they're actually changing the way people see their own society, and that it's not a negative force, but in fact it's something new, and so it's scary, but it's actually a completely positive influence for the future that this generation is actually going to eventually take control over. So yeah, I find it a really fascinating book. The great thing about it was we're talking about a book written in 1997, so when you read it in that slightly more historic context compared to where we are now, I think it's a fascinating and, dare I use the term, prescient book that really sort of shows some fascinating insights into where we're going right now. The Soft Edge by Paul Levinson. Now this was an ascribed text for second year media theory, but I've got to say it's really approachable and a really fascinating book that I think really changed the way I understood the history of communication technology as a concept. So as it puts it, it's a natural history of the information revolution. But what is really amazing about this book is that it goes right back to prehistory and early recorded history to look at the way everything from the alphabet through to the idea of monotheism, through to obviously then more serious technologies later in history with the printing press, with the telephone, things like this. But it looks at each of these things as a technology and then looks at how society was changed by the introduction of that technology. So it takes some really interesting alternative perspectives on the way these things have actually changed our society. And so yeah, if you're really interested in seeing a book that is all about the history of technologies in every sense of the word technology, this is a great book. Why TV is Good for Kids by Catherine Lumby and Duncan Fine. Catherine Lumby is an Australian Australian media theory person. She's based at the University of New South Wales. And I think this book is definitely, for those of us who love our technology and love our games and love our popular culture, this is a great book if you want to arm yourself with incredibly well-researched ideas into why older people can just shut the hell up and get over this whole idea that video games are scary and evil and horrible, and TV is horrible and evil and rots your brain, all that sort of thing. This is a great book that looks at why these things can actually be a positive force in raising children and make them smarter and more aware of society and ultimately better people. It's a kind of book that is very approachable and will definitely give you a lot of great ideas the next time you're stuck in a dinner debate or a family debate over the pros and cons of games and TV and technology and the internet and censorship and freedom. And this is The Production of Space by Henri Lefebvre. Now, when I said I was picking out books that are approachable, this is not one of those books. I just thought I'd point it out because it was a big influence for me in terms of my honours thesis. And I think if you want to try your hand at some really meaty theory, that I guess in a lot of ways this is attached to a lot of different kinds of theories. This was written in the 70s, and it's ultimately about the way spaces are constructed to create certain social meanings. So as I say, this is kind of really meaty stuff, and it goes into, you can look at the way literally architectures are produced in public spaces, the way public spaces are becoming more and more shifted to feel like private spaces so that people aren't welcome there for extended periods of time. How airports are constructed, how all kinds of different spaces can be built to be very specific about what someone feels when they move into that space. And then this, of course, translates into digital spaces as well. It's heavy, it's meaty, it is really hard to understand. It probably takes a whole bunch of readings to get through it. I know when I talk about my thesis, it focused on one chapter, which is the social space chapter. But yeah, if you ever like the idea of just sinking your teeth into something, and this is me pointing out some personal stuff that influenced where my ideas come from, Production of Space, Henri Lefebvre, let me know what you think. Hope you got something out of that list of books and something maybe piqued your interest. Feel free to share any of your own ideas in meaty media theory kind of books that you might think I might be interested in. I'll also post Amazon links to the books I've just mentioned, so you can jump straight in and buy them from there. I think that's where I bought pretty much all of them as well. But that's all for tonight's update, so thank you very much for stopping by. Join us weeknights around midnight Sydney time for Daily Geek News, and for more coverage, visit midnightupdate.com.